Chat. This thing. No. Things are shaping up well. How's everyone doing together today? Is everything coming together well for everybody? Semester, we're on the downhill spread. It's that's never fun.
I assume there's not going to be great.
Probably not. Well, it's like it was kind of a toss up because being that it's a time change. Right? Like you kind of expect when I get up a little bit, but yeah, it's sickness stuff. The temperature changes. Do that a bit. My favorite's antibiotics. Since I'm taking one now, it's like, oh, all of the stomach stuff that goes to antibiotics. Oh, yeah. Get sick. Oh, that's always fun. So Dayquil or was it Robitussin? Like 3 years back, there was a big thing where like high school kids were getting into it.
I think probably both.
Yeah, because I remember, what was it, Robitussin, like called it Robotrippin or something. That's like, I don't know. People kinds of things. So I know what it was. So last time when we were in here, there were the points that I made, things that we talked about, and then whenever we started going into the crimes against children, the domestic stuff, all that, it's like I didn't really remember what I wanted to talk about there. It's like, one, you should be familiar with the statutes, but I remember what the point was that I wanted to talk about. It's like I wanted you to start looking at punishments associated with them, because you're going to see the max. So they'll give you max. They may give you minimums. They'll definitely give you the maximums. They'll also identify if there's money involved. And but we'll start moving a little bit into some against property before we move into our what should have been a midterm, but we kind of had some things to discuss, which is good. So we're moving from crimes against persons into crimes against property. So we should pay attention to those timelines, particularly the maxes and the monetary amounts set to them, because, well, to some degree, when we're looking at these crimes, you see, yeah, we set punishments for it, but the monetary value is somewhat attached to that to some degree. It's like the more time you get, the more money it's going to be worth, that kind of thing. It's really hard to do when you're dealing with people, right? This book, they give you a book in this class. You're dealing with statutes. It's like, it's not going to give you anything like that. Other textbooks you have in other classes, they'll talk with you about things like, the costs of crime, that kind of thing. Cost estimates. We're going to put numbers, figures to try to figure out how much harm is there. This is a really hard thing to do. right? Because, you know. As a punishment. Or harm. Getting at this thing right here, value. Okay. I said the cost for a crime and victimization of any specific type. You're going to tell me things like, okay. What are we looking at in terms of injury? How long does it take to heal? What are our medical costs? What's our costs for a loss of labor, working hours? You can't work because you're healing, that kind of thing. Psychological and emotional harms associated with, those are all things that are figured in here, right? Anytime you try to get a figure on, well, what is the economic impact for whatever type of crime? That's one way of looking at it. It's a really useful way of looking at it if you're trying to identify how big of a problem it is. I like to look at this whenever we're dealing in terms of punishments and stuff. They're all built into the statutes. So they'll tell you up to this, sometimes they'll have a minimum. And then we'll have the dollar figure attached to it, because this is what we're going to levy against the criminal, the accused, the convicted. What is the actual value we put on this crime, right? We have that whole theory about deterrence, which whether or not it works, we're kind of not quite certain. Right? If you study it in research, you'll say it doesn't work. If we study it in terms of real world applications, or we stop enforcing the law, you see, well, if we stop enforcing the law, deterrence actually did work. That kind of thing. So how much money do we put towards value of person versus your crap? Kind of an interesting thing. Okay. Some house cleaning stuff first. Let's see, oh, it didn't give me a sound. Do I have sound going on this? In theory, I have sound. Okay. So house cleaning stuff first. Let's look at the schedule to get an idea for where we're at. So right now we're right here. So it says about a month behind, but a lot of that was because we missed a couple classes. So really we're down here, and we've got 1, 2 Thanksgiving and 2 weeks after that. So we'll finish this one up today, and we'll move into the property crimes. We'll probably get pretty well through that. We won't take 2 weeks on it. We'll move pretty fast. Next class, we'll probably do a review for this exam, maybe the week class thereafter, so we can get that out of the way. I'll go ahead and post up. I think I still have quiz 4 and quiz 5, but I'll make those due at least a week out, and I'll give you some time for both of those. Assignment 2, 3, and 4, what I'll do is I'll stagger those out for the rest of the semester. I may cut one of them. We'll be ready to talk about that maybe next class. What I'll do is I'll give you some options. Here are our assignment options. Which one would you want to cut? That kind of thing. From there, we'll just have a few quizzes and final exam. So we're getting ready to do the real work. I'm glad that you guys are here. I'm glad you guys are online that are here. Make sure you're here for the review, because we'll go back through everything. It'll take a bit of time, but we will go back through everything. Check that. Okay, so last time we left off with this. All right, so this one, does this give me the punishments there? This one I don't think I included on this one because it is so long. If I go and I say this. Just, yeah. I want this one. F 1, 1, 1. Keep going. Okay. Looks like it starts. That's rape defined. Active sexual intercourse. Instrumentation. Age limitations. Instrumentation. Here we go. First felony. Advised. So one version says not less than Let me highlight that so you can see it a little bit better. Five years to death. Death, imprisonment for not less than 5 years, or life. Life. Okay, any person 2 more years. Stipulations. So here's where you start getting into how many times they commit this crime and how much does it affect it. Second degree. Rape. First. Second. Okay, next crime, son. Oh, human trafficking. That's a truth in sentencing one. Rape of the first degree for sodomy. Fine the same way. Oh, sexual assault. Consent, we get to consent. Punishment. Yeah, that's weird. Why did it jump into that? Where are we at? That's this weird to have that in there. Okay, crime victims compensation. This is where it jumps into something else. All right, that's what it is. 1, 2. Nope, that's age limitations. We'll skip that one. We'll go to say sexual assault. Next. Okay. All instances, but not including. Yeah, here we go. Same place we were before. Fun in that one. Okay, so it's not going to do that one specifically, what it looks like. It jumps in child sexual assault, victims compensation, administration, examination funds. So this is, there we go. This section. So this is telling you how they establish funds. So that's built into the criminal statutes. That's interesting. Not what we're looking for. It's that one, right? Okay. So this is in the partner violence. See if that one's in there. Intimate partner violence. Nope, that's too early. Okay. You're back under assault, domestic abuse. Assault shall be punishable by 30 days, $500. Ethics. 1 year, $5,000. Right? Good bit of money, not a whole lot. Child. At the beginning. Dude must. Okay. Attempt to conceal the death. Capable of intellectual disability. Non-compliance, violation, custody order, substitute, missing, felony, battery, assault, delinquent children. Keep going. Here we go. child abuse, child neglect, sexual abuse. Maliciously engage in child abuse, felony, 1 year. $5,000. At the max, 500 is an minimum. Enabling it, 1 year, 500 to 5,000. That's sexual assault, but that's on the low end. Okay, that's enough of that for this. Anything else I need to tell you about this? Assault, domestic abuse, child neglect, child sexual exploitation penalties. Yeah. Right, parent maliciously engages in sexual. Oh, where'd I lost my place? Where'd it go? There we go. There we go. 25 years. To life in prison. So if it's just silence, up to 25 years. So there's your range. Talk for just a second how this plays out. Something to think about. This right here versus adults. More serious or less serious? Children more serious? Raise your hand if you think children are more serious. Victim, okay. We're gonna have a trial. If your victim is an adult, is the likelihood more yes or no? You think it's more yes, raise your hand. For an adult. Okay.
You still get a trial, but the children aren't like, they don't have children that are, that they don't have to testify.
That's the question. That's the question right there. So what you get is what's your likelihood for a yes or no? Are you actually making it to trial? It's a decision none of us will get to make, really. I mean, on the victimization side, it's like prosecutor will take that into account. They will. They'll also take into account your ability to testify, right? It's like you start moving into the child stuff. It's like maybe they don't have to testify in open court. They still have to testify, right? You're still gonna have to go in there and talk. That's gonna be a decision between the child and the parents as to whether or not that's something that they want to testify about, right? The same problem that we run into with adults and the dangers associated with that and the problems with getting people to talk. And the same thing here. Probably worse. So your likelihood of getting a trial decreases, right? So if you start talking about plea bargaining, we haven't talked too much about plea bargaining here, have we? Probably not. It shouldn't really come up in here, but that's where that will come in. Because you really should talk about it in this section, because that's going to get plead out, which means that one's not on the table. It means you get closer to this one at every step, right? Where you're looking at one. Hey, is it 1 year, or is it anything at all? Like how many people have been convicted, pled out to something, I should say, not convicted, and get something to the effect of probation? I bet you that's one Google search away, and I can find some big results where it's like, this person molested X number of boys in their role as whatever role they had for X number of years, and their punishment is they don't even get the same number of years in prison. Probation, they get a few months, right? That kind of stuff happens all the time. So you got what we have on paper, then you have how it actually functions, right? So keep that in mind. All right. Okay, child abuse, exploitation, elder abuse. Elder abuse is the same thing as kids. Basically, when you start getting old enough, you start running diminished capacity, so the same kinds of stuff can happen here. We have a whole bunch related to it. Abuse, sexual abuse, exploitation, neglect, all of those. And engages in felony, $10,000, not more than 2 years. Guess we don't value old people. Kidnapping, false imprisonment, you guys are familiar with those. In terms of the things that I need to tell you. Okay, we'll go with the more mild of the two. Legally, false imprisonment. This is why you should never use force, never try to arrest anybody yourself. Ever, right? Citizens arrest, yeah, no. False imprisonment. Right? That's why you should keep that in mind. Kidnapping, that movement aspect of it, that's what separates it out from one place to another, rather than just restraining them. Kidnapping. Any person without lawful authority seizes, confines, inveigles, decoys. Okay. This person confined or imprisoned against their will. This person sent somewhere, it says sent out of this state against their will, or sold as a slave, felony, 20 years. Okay. On trial violations shall not be to a defense unless if you're satisfied with persons above the age of 12. Not it's consensual, that kind of thing. So it's like, yeah, that age element in there. All right. Except a person sentenced to life or life without parole on or after the effective date of this act, any person sentenced in prison for violation of section offense involved should be required. Okay, so you have even more stuff if it's sex related. Okay. Other reasons why you might kidnap somebody. Extortion, hostage, human trafficking. Hate crimes. We have more time, I'd get into a discussion with you about the role of intent in one's actions. We had that kind of beginning of the semester where I talked about, it's like, yeah, the intent determines everything. You take certain actions, but you mean to do something and you do it or you don't. It's like, the better aligned those are, the better it is. Hate crimes are the exact same thing. It's like, the intent behind it is such that that's what makes it above and beyond worse than as it would have been beforehand. Yes, I recognize either of these names, Matthew Shepard, James Ford. Okay. So I don't need to go. Like, I don't remember James Bird. I remember Matthew Shepard. His story was up north. I mean, yeah, it was up north. Rural area, kid gets beaten up, and was he chained or tied up, something like that?
He was chained up to like the chain fence and was left for dead.
Yeah, and so what happens when you leave someone for dead? Most often they die, right? It's an interesting conversation in itself, like the role of society and how much it keeps people alive, because if you go out in the wilderness on your own, most people die. But yeah, that's what happened with him.
I mean, he died 3 days later in the hospital.
Yeah.
So.
Torture is what you're talking about, pain and suffering. All right. Here, what we have in this state, of course, there's all kinds of federal stuff related to this too. Malicious intimidation and harassment because of race, color, religion, ancestry, national origin, or disability. This kind of outlines reporting systems too. Okay. Assault, battery, damage, destroy, vandalize the face, threaten. All of those things fall into this area. This is something that's really, really, really interesting, because what it does is it criminalizes actions that are already criminalized. What it does is it adds in a qualifier that makes the punishments even more punitive, makes it even more criminal, I guess would be another way of looking at it. That one is interesting because what it is essentially doing is it's identifying priorities in terms of intent. But that one is something that we really want to address. Stalking. Okay. There's the functional definition, and then there's a statutory definition. What do I want to tell you about the functional definition? I could tell you a joke. I'm not gonna do that. Tell a joke too. Stalking is when two people take a walk in the woods and only one person knows about it. That's stalking, right? Yeah, two people take a walk. Okay. This one, the cyber stalking. That's the one we probably should be the most concerned for you all, because you'll never know. What does it say? Intentionally or recklessly engaging in course of conduct at a targeted person. Reasonable fear for safety or those around you. There's a whole lot of stuff related to harassment. It should be talked about kind of aside from this, because this is its own kind of thing. In terms of thresholds for stalking, but how do you know when you're being stalked? It's like that creepy feeling when you feel someone who's been following you for the last 3 bus stops kind of thing. It's like, yeah, you know that, but the big thing here is there has to be a pattern associated with it. So it's not just like that one person, that one time, even though that is a very real danger. It's okay, how many times has this person been following you? How long has this person been doing this? What kinds of places are they showing? The better you can document that stuff, the better you are at getting this enforced. Because if you don't document it, you got nothing. Nothing. Cyber stalking thing. That's going to be the bigger area going forward, because hell, if I just write this up on the board, this is a single word. It's actually an acronym. OSINT. That's open source intelligence. That's all the stuff that you guys publicly put out there that I can access without any difficulty. That'll be all your social media stuff, all that kind of stuff. Now imagine you have someone who wants to stalk you. I now have pictures of the inside of your house, your friends group, identification for all the locations you tend to habitually go. And if I'm really good, I'll know when you're posting and where you're at. Meaning, not only do I know what the inside of the house looks like, I know exactly where the house is and I know what room you're in. Love in the future, right? Those are very real dangers. I want to tell you. Yeah. Someone knows what they're doing, you won't know it's there. Okay, stalking, penalties. If you do this, you may be killed. It's a misdemeanor, not more than 1 year, not more than $1,000. Person who violates provisions of subsection, meaning you've got a protective order. Person in 10 years of proceeding the violation could be up to 5 years. That's a felony. $2,500. Okay. At this point, I'll reference, we've talked a little bit about justifiable and excusable homicides. This topic right here, protective orders. I don't know if I need to say anything more about that. Yeah, you have to get a protective order. You should be in a situation where you can follow that up with team. Bullying. This is a growing area. We talk a little about how involved this system is. It literally regulates behavior. It regulates human contact. Like literally, you can regulate all human contact. You literally can. Bullying is one of those things where it's like you can see social changes there pretty quickly. This is my last slide on that. So yeah, this bullying shall include cyberbullying. That's where you're getting most of the stuff there. In terms of dangers and harms, there's generational issues associated with that one as well. For example, if I said the effects of this, what does that cause? What does that cause people to do? Bullying.
It's
A lot of school shootings have been sort of bullying.
That's when you get the most serious stuff. You start talking death. Why? Because if you put people off enough, yeah, that can come with it. Like, okay, that's not good. Also, you have the other side of death is you weaken that person to the point where that they don't go on. Yeah, that's pretty serious stuff. We do need to regulate that. Curious about the generational things. older generations, it's like, for them, it wasn't the same animal. It was, school, social interactions, that kind of thing. Today, it's you're plugged in all the time. There is no escape from it, right? I said, exposure to bullying in the last 30 years. How much has it increased? I'm not asking, that's a rhetorical question. It's like, okay, so think about it this way, 30 years ago, 90, right? You're not really talking internet so much. Schools, public events, games, things like that. Maybe if you're running around on the streets, this is the only time you're gonna run into bullies. Now they're in your pocket. There's billions of them. Yeah. That's enough of that. Now we need to go into property offenses. Okay, serious and less serious, it breaks them up into that. It did. Larceny, theft. So lowest level, you start talking petty larceny. Here's what it requires. Some type of trespass, you're taking something, property of another, you have that intent to steal. So just like robbery, only person's not there. Okay, here's what I talk a little bit about constructive possession versus actual possession. We talked about this already, yes? We talked about that in here? It comes up in a lot of classes, so I can't remember if I've talked about it in here. Okay, possession. I have the marker. This is in my possession. Stick it in my pocket and it's illegal to carry markers, or it's somebody else's marker, like I've stolen it, or maybe I'm carrying drugs or whatever, right? If I take this marker, and you're almost on the screen, grab that and just hold that right there. Is it still my marker?
Yes.
Yes, it's still my marker. I didn't give it to you. I just hold on to it for a second. Don't smoke my drugs, man. I'm just kidding. It's like, no, that's not stealing either, right? It's here. You completely, like, you don't have any of that. It's still mine though. That's what you start getting at with constructive possession. There's all kinds of relationships that people have where it's like, would you take my marker to the next room over? Yes. Okay, it's still my marker. Okay, let's say it's a key of cocaine. Yeah, you've done something wrong. Really, you won't come after me though, because I'm the one with the drugs, right? Or if I'm the one taking stuff. But who's the one who's really driving the situation? It's that person who's going to constructive control. Think about it this way. Hierarchy. There's any element of any type of hierarchical relationship between two people, and the person who has more asks something of the person who has less. You're in this territory, constructive possession, right? Your boss. You are, maybe you ever worked for a shipping company? No? Okay. Close enough to Tulsa figures. Somebody's probably at some point exposure to things like UPS, FedEx, that kind of stuff, right? Yeah? Okay. You're shipping stuff. You see a great big pallet of what? What do you guys want on the pallet? It's getting close to Christmas. What do you guys want? You guys don't want anything for Christmas?
Not something that can be shipped.
So you're more like the abstracts, like goodwill towards people and that kind of stuff.
I just don't want to.
Say the will to live. The will to live. We're not selling that one here. I'm sorry. Okay.
Nice shoes.
Yeah. Supposed to be 5. Yes, 5s. EVs, any number of things. Okay. Say, I don't remember how big a pallet actually is in terms of that kind of stuff. Let's say we're talking like 500 of these, 1,000 pairs of shoes, and we'll say 100 TVs. That's what you're shipping. You just want any of this stuff? Who wants a new TV? Okay, new TV. You want a new PlayStation 5 too?
Yeah.
Okay. How about some shoes for everybody? Okay. So. Palette. Palette. Talking about that yet? No, I think it's the next one.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Did you call with Zoom issues?
No.
Okay, we got Zoom issues for this class.
For this classroom, I seem to have gotten it going. It seems to be working all right. I did notice that that camera was not working this morning. But whenever I turned it on, oriented it and kind of went over to it, it started zooming in correctly because it was a focus issue. That's the only thing I've noticed.
We got a call about an issue, but if y'all are all good, then sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no, you're fine. I think you guys can hear me, right? Sounds like they can hear me. I mean, I see the little microphone thing, but I don't hear anything from them. Sometimes we don't hear anything. All right. Person who trusts good. Bail or bailee. Person whose goods are trusted to another party. Bailiff. Bailee, that's you all. Conversion. Right? Depending on how the statutes are written, I think this will probably start to identify that. No, it didn't do that. All right, we'll just talk about it then. So a lot of us, you have some active conversion to make it from theirs to yours, particularly if you're shipping stuff, because that was historically a huge issue because this is mine, I'm giving it to you to get it over there, right? I give it to you, it did not go over there. What happened? Is it a shipping issue? Is it something we take up with the company, or is it something that we're talking about criminal activity has taken place? How many TVs fell off the back? That kind of thing. Right? So that's that process of conversion is where you make it yours. Here, really when you start talking about larceny, what you need to be careful with is just dollar figures. Are we talking about the low level stuff? Or are we talking about high level stuff? Because what kinds of shoes we're talking about, you can be there really fast. This one, you're probably still low level, but this one, maybe not, right? And so you have that in it. Here it says, grand versus petty larceny. Petite, let's just say petty. Larceny by trick mentions that's an exception. There's a whole list of fraud that's related to that. I mean, hell, you can even cross-reference that with the elder abuse stuff that we had in the last one, because that statute will apply to this some too. Anytime you start getting into larceny is taking another person's property by fraud or stealth, bribe another. Yes. Grand, $1,000. Anything not over that, petty. Petty larceny, petty. That's the word that I say. I don't say petite. I say petty, that's petty. But small larceny. In that case, give me punishments on the next slide. I'll just jump into burglary. Okay. Talk about conversion, we talk about bailee, bailer, constructive possession, grand versus petty. I think that does it for this. That's that $1,000 thing. If I showed you over here, larceny, destruction of records, don't care about that. Entering buildings, larceny applies at 1701. We'll say 1703 for degrees. 2 degrees. Grand and petty. That's $1,000 mark. Both versions. Grand larceny is a felony. 5 years, $5,000. Okay. Or by both, if such value property is $1,000 more. Or not more than 1 year. Maybe just one night, weekends. And not exceeding $1,000. Right? Grand larceny is $1,000 to $5,000. Stealing one item for $1,000 worth more than $1,000. Well, that's more important than your domestic violence. Your low threshold is like $500. Ooh. Okay, back to this. Burglary. One of those things I struggled with a long time trying to understand why crimes against persons and crimes against property are valued the way that they are. Is anyone else struggling with that a little bit too? Why is it we seem to punish property more than punish crimes against people? I'm gonna come to some conclusion on that. If we wanted to deal with the problem, like really wanted to deal with the problem, I think that we focus entirely on crimes against persons, and that's all that we would actually incarcerate. At the same time, there's a lot of people who take stuff and we just leave that out in society. What happens is more and more and more stuff is taken. So it's like, I don't know if this is optimal or not. I've not really figured that out yet. It is one of those things, if you're gonna get people to stop doing things that cost money and involve property, they typically focus on this more than just like the time in prison. But I don't know. That's that whole deterrence thing. Does it actually work? I don't know. Burglary. Same thing as the other. That one's got an interesting one of the nighttime. Because depending on the statutes, it's like, that could quite literally be in there. Which means if it happens during the day, it's not a burglary, right? We ran into that a little bit whenever I talked about Tennessee versus Garner. Because they made nighttime burglary a felony, right? So how you classify these things, how you write it in there, can have pretty big implications. Here it talks about the restraining order and curtilage. We kind of talked about the restraining order a little bit already when we're talking about protective orders. It's like, yes, those are very, very useful to have. If you have a new situation where this is needed, go get it. Realize that it is just a piece of paper. Yes, there are police officers who will enforce it. Also, it is just a piece of paper, meaning you have to wait for that response, meaning you don't want to. That kind of thing. Curtilage. That's the area around your home that is treated like your home, right? It's a privilege. So generally, the closer we get to people, the more private it is, right? So the closer you are to that person themselves, the more private it is. One exception to that is your house, which is seen as basically an extension of that person. So it's very, very private. In fact, you can actually say your home is more protected than you are as a person, right? That being said, the area immediately around the home is similarly protected to a certain degree. Like you can't have an officer walk up in the home, you can't have a stranger walk up in your home. You can prevent that. You can't necessarily prevent them from walking up into your yard though. I know a couple of you have had procedures. I'll talk a little bit about this. If I said knock and talk, have you ever heard that phrase? Okay. So, you know, you guys have all heard things like knock and announce, that kind of thing, policing. Another aspect of it is knock and talk. That means I'm going to go up and knock on somebody's door and talk to them. There are many reasons why you might want to do that, whether it's something like a welfare check or you just want to peer inside their house, see what's going on, that kind of thing. Because of that principle that anyone can approach your door, anyone can approach your door and knock on it. That's an area where it's common use. Like you've seen situations where someone's pulling in the driveway and someone opens fire at them. That's wrong. They can walk all the way up to your porch and knock on the door. You fire at them, that's wrong. You're going to prison. That's what's gonna happen. At the same time, these areas do have some degree of protection. As in, you find someone who's in that area that shouldn't be. Okay, you need to get out. Time for you to go. That kind of thing. It says here, garage, ground, barn, stable, cellar, other buildings in the area surrounding the dwelling. It says, if there is no fence, the building is considered to be within the privilege after you read it. Okay. That's a procedures thing. Basically what it is there's 4 factors they look at when making determinations whether something's curtilage or not. Where it really comes up is, can we gather evidence from this area? Am I legally allowed into it? Right? That's where that runs. It'll come up here for this because this wouldn't be like petty larceny that's up next to your house. It's burglary because it's so close to your house, it's in that curtilage. Like I keep lawnmower and bicycles right up next to one of my kids' rooms, right outside the window, right up through the porch, right? Someone comes up there and takes a bike. You're here, you're not larceny. You're too close to my house. More serious. It says with the intent to commit a felony therein. I should probably talk about that for a second, that last bullet point. Basically what that is so long as you're there to take enough stuff to be classified as a felony, you're there. So basically they're taking anything. All right, burglary in the first degree. Person who breaks and enters the dwelling of the house of another, where there is at some point a human being that has to be in there, because then we're not talking about homes if there's no humans there, right? Start talking warehouses, then we're not in burglary. Intent to commit some other crime therein. Could be forcibly bursting, breaking walls, that kind of, ooh. You ready? If I said breaking and entering, you guys have heard that phrase. What does it mean?
Forceful entrance.
Good. Yeah. B and E. So it could be forceful. And what else could it be? That doesn't show the door. That's too bad. Okay, door right here. I'm going to step out of the door. This classroom is now home. Okay. Did I just break and enter? Did. Yeah. I broke through the entryway. That's literally what it is. That door is wide open. You still enter it. You're not supposed to be there. That's still breaking and entering. That door can be partially closed. It can be pulled to. It can be wide open. You're not where you're supposed to be. You cross into it. What is your intent? Is it this? If it is, you're in criminal territory. If you're intent on committing any type of crime, if you're there for a welfare check, it's a different story. Same thing with police, right? I can go on your door, I walk into that house, I can't do it. Wait, that door's open, I can look in, I can't enter it. See a pair of feet sticking out in that doorway, I'm going in, right? Same thing for you or me. There's a pair of feet over there, I'm walking in. I might not like what I'm gonna see, I'm gonna walk in. All right. Let's see, forcibly breaking by another manner, armed with a dangerous weapon, being assisted or aided by Confederates. I think I'm supposed to say that. Then actually doesn't. Okay, so you don't actually have to even be there for that. You're being aided by Confederates. Unlocking outer door, false keys, picking lock, lifting latch, opening window, so on and so forth. Ooh, we'll talk about that in terms of being easy. Locks. How good are they? Nah, not at all. You guys ever picked a lock? It's not hard, is it? Yeah, well, it's like there's the easy one, there's the complex way. The easy way would be you have a door here, there's a tiny little space between the door and the frame where there's a little latch that goes in here. If you get something in there, you can kind of jimmy it open, right? That's a really easy way. locks themselves, that they have, whatever one it is that you have, stick it in there and it looks sort of like this. A little rotating tube, and depending on whether your key is oriented in what direction, little tumblers here. And all I do is just kind of fit into the key fits in there. I'll push these up out of the way so this thing can rotate around. Really, really, really simple. You've probably all seen, okay, I've got a little pick. I'm gonna go in there, my little pick, and was it Bethesda? Skyrim. They actually did a pretty good depiction of it in was it Skyrim or Oblivion, where it literally shows you the cylinder, here's the tumblers, you're gonna hit them until they go up and stick. And then, yeah, there's a little button to press lock it in place. It's like, yeah, that's not how that works. What we're gonna do, I have this here, I stick this device in here, down here, to move these tumblers out of the way. The whole time, I take something, anything else, and I push it in the direction it's gonna unlock, right? Because it rotates one way or the other. Putting a little bit of pressure, whenever I push this up out of the way, boom, it rotates just enough to lock those in place. Click, 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 I'm in. All right, that's if you do it the complex way. The easy way is I have a key. Right? Little rubber thing you can get that'll slip around your key like an O-ring. I'm gonna push it in here. Whenever I get it to where that rubber thing's right there, I'm gonna hit it real hard. It's gonna force that rubber thing in there. It's gonna spread all this out. Now it rotates freely. I'm in. How's that for some lessons for the day? How are we on time? Pretty close. A little bit of lesson on B&E. It's not hard. Not hard at all. Okay. Burglary in the second and third degree. Anyone who enters or breaks and enters the dwelling, no person present. Ooh, here's where you get the good stuff. Commercial structures, booths, tents, railroad, any structure. Yeah, there you go. Coin operated vending machines. Here. Right? One step is your house. One step away from that's vending machines. Yeah. If I'm gonna start a lifetime, I'm gonna get a few dollars from a vending machine. I can get a whole lot more going for your house. Don't think about it. All right, any thoughts, questions? We're about out of time. So we'll finish this up next class and then move into a review. From that point, we'll finish that review. It'll probably take a little bit of time because there's 8 chapters, I think, 8 sections, parts, whatever you like to call them. Maybe 7. It's 7 there. So it'll take us a little time to get through that, but we'll go through that. Make sure you guys have what you need, and I'll post out some more stuff for you to do. And then our semester's on that downhill slide. It's crazy how fast it all went. Is there any questions you guys have for me in the meantime? Any information you want, any opportunities, anything like that? No, now it's time to be thinking about that kind of stuff. As stuff's ramping up for next semester. Projects you want to work on, things you want to do, people you want to get to know, departments you want to start making connections with. Start thinking about that. Start sending emails. You can send me anybody in the department. Someone will know someone you want to talk to. So be thinking about that in the meantime. Until then, I will see you all Wednesday. Have a lovely day. And anything, just let me know. That, have a great one.